Hi everybody, I'm Hub Arkus for Pro Football Weekly along with our senior editor Mike Wilkening. We're here with more of our award-winning fantasy football coverage. It's time for the Fantasy Ticker, where every week we give you a player or players at almost every position you might want to be sure and get in your lineup this week. Mike Wilkening, of course, our fantasy expert. And Wilkie, will start with the quarterbacks this week. Who's the guy that everybody should try and get going?
Sam Bradford of the St. Louis Rams is an interesting pickup to make because of the matchup. He's got a great matchup versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is horrible versus the pass. Bradford comes off a pretty productive game in Week 15. So he's someone in deeper leagues I think you're looking at, in two quarterback formats. I think this might be a week where he can help some teams out.
How about running back? Anybody there that maybe is available that you might be able to grab?
Mark Ingram of the New Orleans Saints has sort of emerged as their featured back to the extent that they have a featured back in a pass-first offense. But if they're going to run the ball, Ingram is probably going to get the bulk of the carries. Chris Ivory a little bit banged up. Pierre Thomas, the usage of him has gone down. You know that Darren Sproles is going to catch the ball quite a bit, but Ingram, between the tackles, is a guy that can be useful. And this is an offense that scores a lot of points. So to me, Mark Ingram is a very interesting flex play this week.
All right, Mike, a wide receiver, you've got an interesting choice. What are you recommending there?
This is a pure matchup play with Alshon Jeffrey versus Arizona. And the reason is this. In watching that Detroit-Arizona game in Week 15, Arizona basically said to Detroit, anybody but Calvin Johnson is going to beat us. They, at various times, covered him like a punt return gunner, with two guys just sort of double teaming him off the line of scrimmage. They may employ similar tactics against Brandon Marshall because it's a similar situation in Chicago. Who else is going to beat you other than Brandon Marshall? Well, Alshon Jeffrey is going to get his opportunities. Now, I know he didn't do a ton or anything at all, frankly, in Week 15, but I think he's an interesting big league flyer on the basis of the matchup, where I think he's going to get some opportunities to exploit this Cardinals defense.
And full disclosure, Mike's pick assumes the Bears wide receiver coach Darryl Drake has spent the week teaching Alshon Jeffrey, the rookie, this is offensive pass interference, and this is not. What about at tight end, Mike?
Marcedes Lewis of the Jacksonville Jaguars is, a big league sort of addition that you might want to look at if you need tight end help. And here's why. I think Jacksonville's going to be behind in this game. We know that New England is not particularly strong defensively. Maybe Lewis gets a late game touchdown or thereabouts. I just have a suspicion the Jaguars are going to get into a game where they're going to have to throw it a lot. Maybe Lewis gets you a touchdown or thereabouts. And if you're on the waiver wire right now, that's really what you're looking for, those touchdown opportunities.
All right, and how about a defense, Mike?
The San Diego Chargers jump off the page because they face the New York Jets. That's really all we have to say here. Now, I know that San Diego underwhelmed a little bit last week, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity. They're traveling to New York in a game where the Jets no longer have the postseason to work for. They're going to start Greg McElroy at quarterback. We know that really they're a mess on offense right now. I think the San Diego Chargers hub are a very good defense to add this week.
All right, folks, and strictly as an aside, it's championship week here in the Pro Football Weekly League, and it'll be Mason and Maggie, coached by yours truly, versus Pitt Inn, coached by our fantasy expert Mike Wilkening, going for the title. Whether we actually know anything or that's a fluke, I can't really say. We'll let you know what happens next week. That'll do it for the Fantasy Ticker. For all the best in fantasy football information, all the best news, notes, analysis, everything you need to enjoy the National Football League, be sure and stay where you are at ProFootballWeekly.com.